The X-Zone radio and TV show is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone radio and TV show or in any manner endorsed by Rob McConnell, REL-MAR McConnell Media Company, Talkstar Radio Network, its affiliated stations, or employees.
Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Have you got something to tell me? Please come up and tell it to me. Please come up and tell me. Tell me, do now. You can tell it all now, baby blue. Really, baby, don't be shy. It's alright for me to talk to you. So let it all come out and let it all come through, baby blue.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'd like to welcome all the affiliates now joining the Talkstar Radio Network live. And that last hour certainly was a strange one, wasn't it, gang? Thanks very much for your emails of support. But yes, we got through that one. If you'd like to give us a call, our toll-free number is 1-877-528-8255. That's toll-free throughout the U.S., Canada, Alaska, and Hawaii. Our email address is xzone@talkstarradio.com. On MSN Messenger, you can chat with us here in our studios at talkstarradio@hotmail.com. And our websites, www.xzoneradio.com and www.xzonetv.com. My guest this hour is Robert Morningstar. Robert Morningstar is currently the co-editor of UFO Digest along with Dirk Vanderploeg. RDM is a civilian intelligence analyst, a photo analyst living in New York City. He is a graduate of the Power Memorial Academy in 1967 with a degree in psychology from Fordham University in 1974. While at Fordham University, Robert D. Morningstar was recruited as a research associate in some of the earliest studies of artificial intelligence in a program sponsored by ONI and IBM. During the 1970s, Robert D. Morningstar became a China watcher specializing in Chinese language studies, as well as Yang Family Tai Chi Master, acknowledged by the Hong Kong Tai Chi Masters Association and the highest-ranking masters in RDM has taught Tai Chi for East Asian Studies Department at Oberlin College from 1980 to 1981, and as an adjunct lecturer at Hunter College from 1994 to 1995. City University of New York. From 1992 to 1994, he served as a consultant and movement therapist in the Behavioral Science Department at the International Center for Disabled in New York City, teaching movement therapy, stress management, and behavioral modification programs. During the 1990s, Robert D. Morningstar dedicated himself to investigating the JFK assassination and exposing the doctoring of the Zapruder film and the alteration of medical and forensic evidence in the Warren Commission report. Robert has been studying UFOs since the mid-1950s and has had several close encounters while airborne and on the ground, most recently in September of 2007. Robert is a civilian pilot, FAA certified instrument ground investigator instructor, and a USG certified weather specialist. Robert Morningstar works regularly with victims of alien abductions around the world via the internet and uses Tai Chi Taoist meditation methods to relieve trauma resulting from PTSS or post-traumatic stress syndrome. And joining us now from New York City is Robert Morningstar. Hi, Robert. How are you this morning?
Hi, greetings.
Nice having you with us, Robert. And Robert, there's been a lot of hot chatter on the internet that was first brought to light by Dr. Michael Salla concerning an alleged meeting at the United Nations where the UFO situation was talked about, and according to documents, there was supposed to be the date of 2013 that was given as the time when extraterrestrials would unambiguously appear. Now, when we come back from this commercial break, I'd like to talk to you about that, because now it seems that there seems to be contradicting evidence in this entire matter, and maybe you can help us put the pieces together on what is real, what is fact, and what is fiction. Robert Morningstar will be back with me on the other side of this commercial break as the X-Zone continues, live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, right here on the Talkstar Radio Network. If you'd like to give us a call with your points of view, your opinions, 1-877-528-8255. My name is Rob McConnell. Robert Morningstar and I return on the other side of this break, right here on Talkstar. Morningstar is our special guest, and Robert, I was wondering if you could help us sift through the cross-information that is appearing on the Internet about what really happened or what really didn't happen at this alleged meeting at the United Nations pertaining to UFOs.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. But first of all, I'd like to say that no one should be surprised that such a meeting occurred. It's not the first time in history it's happened. 1978, there were major hearings there, chaired by Prime Minister Geary of Grenada.
Mm-hmm.
And something was moving along at that time toward disclosure, and just coincidentally, about 3 days before that was to occur, the major hearing there, the big thing in Grenada blew up, and the United States moved in and rescued the medical students, et cetera, and the whole thing died. I would also like to say that Stanton Friedman addressed the United Nations in the General Assembly 30 years ago. So UFOs at the United Nations is nothing new.
But the information that is circulating around the Internet pertaining to this meeting
yes.
That happened in February certainly is different from the other information that we've had about the United Nations before.
Of course, and it's because of the events of the last 4 years, but in particular, the events of the last year, particularly starting with the conference in Washington, D.C. on November 12th, which I attended, at which 12 to 16 people from around the world spoke. And these were not, witnesses from the boonies, I met Major General de Breuer,
mm-hmm. Chief of the Air Staff of the Belgian Air Force, who was chasing the triangular UFO all over the Belgian skies in 1988, 89, and 90. The same craft that was appearing in the Hudson Valley, New York, my territory, throughout the 1980s. And the picture of this craft is now appearing in UFO Digest. I'd like your viewers to tune into that. The photo was leaked by the New York Times on February 6th under a facetious article that was labeled Space Junk. Space junk and dangerous debris in outer space, a great concern. And they showed this photograph, and I looked at it, and I expressed my opinion at how fatuous the label was. But this is the way things happen when things are leaked. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're talking about today, the leaking of information through conduits like myself,
I was fortunate enough to be in the right place in the right time with the right credentials, I would say. So I was advised that this was going to happen the day before it happened. That would be February 11th. And February 12th in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning at the United Nations, a closed-door session was held. Now, this is different than the follow-up meetings that have been described by Mr. Gilles Laurent, the Frenchman, who's now finding himself in hot water because they've gone and nitpicked through all of his credentials and have found that he didn't belong to some prestigious acronymic organization that he had claimed. But the interesting thing about this discreditation is that they are discrediting the man, but they are not discrediting the information. So that's a very important point.
All right, now, how do we know that the information that was leaked was true and not disinformation? You know, the UFO community is the first one to scream that the government is releasing, disinformation. How do we know that the UFO community is not the ones releasing this disinformation?
Well, that's correct. I was approached and told about this.
Mm-hmm.
I was told that it was an official initiative. I would like to say that I mentioned the appearance of the heads of air forces. I met the former head of the Iranian Air Force, General Parvez Jafari, who's very famous for having chased a UFO over the skies of Tehran in an F-4 in 1976. That is legendary. It's an officially documented U.S. Air Force investigation,
mm-hmm.
and the man who was the pilot later became the head of the Iranian Air Force. This is at the time of the Shah, before the current fundamentalist regime. I met, as I mentioned, the Deputy Chief of the Air Staff of the Belgian Air Force. I spoke with Governor Fife Symington.
But, sir, no disrespect here. I'm trying to get to the bottom of what happened at the meeting at the United Nations. What happened
you have to understand that this is a process. It's not an event. This is an ongoing process that has been...
What I want to talk to about tonight is the event that has been circulating on the Internet pertaining to an alleged meeting at the United Nations, which, by the way,
mm-hmm.
we checked out.
Yes.
With UN security, diplomatic police. We checked with a Canadian mission at the United Nations, and they all categorically denied, in fact, laughed at it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Are you a diplomat? Then don't expect diplomats to speak to you.
Are you a diplomat?
I have contacts with diplomatic service.
So we have contacts with diplomats as well. I'm not a diplomat. I never said I was.
Okay.
All right, but what I want to talk about...
You sound a little irate and...
No, this isn't irate, sir. This is, I want to cut through the chase.
Okay.
I want to get to the meat because we only have an hour.
Okay. I was notified the meeting would occur. I was then notified that the meeting had occurred.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, and Michael Sala also, Dr. Michael Sala was notified.
Right.
He was given the information and he released a general account of what went on at that first meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Attended by about 28 to 30 nations. And it was accurate with the information that I had gotten. And then the UFO community vented on this man. But it's not all due to that. There's so many factions involved and so many, it's parochial. Ufology is almost like a religion. And there are different dioceses and
mm-hmm.
different spheres of influence. So when Michael Sala came out with this, the grudges came out and they attacked him vociferously. Myself being privy to the information, I put out a report saying that the call to expose the source is ludicrous.
Why?
Why? Because when you are trusted with information and a person says to you, I'm telling you this in confidence, I have to protect my position, I have to protect my life, this is very dangerous, I trust you, I would like you to put this information or know it for my own protection. You must respect that.
But why would this
if
person...
someone says that to you, Rob, saying, Rob, I'm going to give you this information and promise me you won't tell anybody that I gave it to you, but it's true, and you believe him, and it's important, and he says that my career is in danger, my life is in danger. Rob, are you going to go out there on this radio station and tell everybody the name?
It depends. Well, as a confidential source, no, I wouldn't.
Okay. So there we have that resolved. Okay.
But on the other side of the coin, if this person is a diplomat, or if this person has information that is so far out to the left field that
not
makes...
left field.
Pardon?
It's not left field. I've just told you what has precipitated this.
But
the governor of Arizona, 10,000 people in Arizona saw the Phoenix Lights. Scores and scores of people in Stevensville, Texas, saw this event. 10 F-16s chased it. And I would like to tip my hat to a Canadian ufologist named Don Ledger, who is one of the few people who had the insight to realize how significant this was. If you bother to look at the map of Stevensville, Texas, it's just a few miles from the Bush Ranch. So, shades of 1952. They're flying over Washington, over the Capitol, hovering over the White House, given chase by the jets of that time, and they disappear. Now we are here in 2007, and they appear buzzing at 3,000 miles an hour over the Texas White House.
I'd like to stick to the UN meeting if possible.
Well, you have to understand that it's not an event, it's a process. So let's go to the process. I've explained to you why I will not give you the name of the source.
Then how do we know that your source is credible?
You the background.
How do we know that your source is credible?
First of all, it sounded incredible to me.
Did you see any evidence to support the allegations?
I was called to meet with the gentleman after he read my report in UFO Digest. He said, the chiefs have read this, and they said, at last, we have a rational person that we can talk to. And I was called Monday, which would have been the 24th. So I was called and invited to meet with them on Tuesday. And I was asked, please put everything aside. They've read what you've written, and they want to bring you into the loop. He's going to come tomorrow, show you his credentials, show you his background, and explain to you what is going on. And so I met with him, and I met a military liaison diplomat from the Pentagon who showed me his credentials, voluminous credentials, satisfied me. A very highly decorated naval officer. We sat for 5 hours, and he explained the situation.
All right, just one quick question. We've got to go to our commercial break here with the news at the bottom of the hour.
Okay.
Is the government aware that these people are letting this information out?
When you say the government, you have to understand that there are many departments of government. And for the first time in history of the military in the United States, one service controls the major positions.
All right, can I get a yes or a no, please?
Yes.
Then why don't they go public? Why all the clandestine
operations? What do you think is
operation?
happening now? They are going public, and this is the process.
Why don't they go to a major media with credibility? A major media that could actually do a background investigation and get both sides of the coin. Something stinks about this. We've got to go to our commercial break. 1-877-528-8255 is our toll-free number. Everybody wants to be a legend in their own mind, I'm telling you. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as we continue live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network. Still to come on tonight's show, we're going to be speaking to UFO Bob about the suppression of UFOs over Wisconsin. My name's Rob McConnell. This is the X-Zone, live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network.
My name is Michael Telstar, Canada's leading mentalist from Toronto, Ontario.
Hi, my name is Belinda, and you're listening to my dad, Rob McConnell, on the X-Zone.
This is Psychic Dorothy from St. Catharines, and you're listening to Rob McConnell. Hello, my name is Holly Reeves, an astrologer from Astro For You, and you're listening to Canada's #1 paranormal radio show, The X Zone, with Rob McConnell.
Welcome to The X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Going over an email here that was sent to Dr. Sala at exopolitics.org from Sean and Clay. And they say, Dear Michael, this email is a follow-up to the UN meeting which took place on Tuesday, the 12th, 2008 at 8 a.m. We met our source 7 p.m. Monday, February the 18th, 2008, and our source stated the following. Number 1, the meeting went well. However, our source left with a degree of frustration. Number 2, the meeting covered various topics. The issue of recent UFO sightings was one of many topics discussed. Number 3, security around the meeting was intense. Number 4, everyone was searched. Pens, pins, keychains, items were collected and not allowed into the meeting room. There were multiple security checkpoints. UN security cards were confiscated upon entering the room. Number 5, 50 to 60 people attended. Everyone was in civilian dressed except one Russian. Number 6, other countries may have had military there, but they came under their respective civilian titles. Number 7, UFO topic was addressed. The Russians are very paranoid about the West. Putin is not very trusting. This frustrated other source greatly. Our source believes the Russians will eventually come around. They always come back to the table. This mistrust appears to be an ongoing issue between the East and the West. Number 8, religious implications of contact came up during the meeting. It turned into a 20-minute debate. Our source had to reel it in and refocus the meeting. It seems that the Indians are very difficult to deal with on this issue of religious implications regarding contact. Population is a major factor in how nation-states deal with new paradigm. The Indians' worldview has led to an unstable food, energy, and water demand. Source stated that the world must get its population and resource under control. ET will help, but we must show them that we intend to live within our constraints. If we don't show some semblance of intent, they will simply not help. Number 9, source said the 2013 date of contact is wrong. The date when things heat up. The real date of contact is 2017. It is on this date when very large craft will appear above the cities and sit. There will be no use of force. They will just sit there. Source stated Independence Day film was close, but their ships are not that big, and again, no force will occur. Our source cannot reveal his source for the 2017 date. His source is a very high government military intelligence structure. Number 10, source stated that in our choice, Number 10, source stated that it is our choice how we embrace this contact. Number 11, the ETs who will arrive on 2017 are referred to as controllers. They are a Galactic Federation type group. However, Galactic Federation is not the real name of their group. It is a hypothetical name used as a reference. Number 12, the controllers have a keen sense of freedom and free will. They will not intervene and help humanity if humanity does not show them we want their help. If some anthropic event happens, in brackets nuclear war, the controllers will not make contact. This is something they will not tolerate, our source stated. Number 13, the controllers will not give us technology to expand our ability to feed ourselves if we do not recognize the necessity to stabilize our population growth. They don't want our planet's population to double because of a technological innovation seeded by them. Our source used India as an example. India has over 1 billion people. It is clearly a country out of balance in terms of its population size. And finally, number 14, a contentious moment in the meeting had to do with the religious implications of contact. It is this issue which is the most concern. Our source stated that more secular societies will adjust more easily to contact than fundamentalists. He stated the Roman Catholic countries will not have a rough time except the population problem. The Roman Catholics already have 3 gods in one, so accepting others is not that much of a stretch. The dividing point is going to be the containment of population. The Protestant countries will deal fairly easily with contact. So will the countries with indigenous religions connected to nature. The Muslim, Hindu, and fundamentalist Christian religions will have the most difficult time, possibly the elimination of said religions. We can expect mass suicide, social unrest, and upheaval. The ETs will help with reprogramming and the concept of an inclusive galactic order. However, society will have to step up to the plate to assist one-on-one. Those people who will have shattered belief systems, the Chinese, will have no problem because of the Buddhist and Taoist influences. And this was signed by Clay and Sean Pickering. Now, these two gentlemen who were given the initial information, are you dealing with the same source, or was their source Gilles Laurent?
No, I'm dealing with the same source. I was introduced by Sean and Clay to the contact.
There's one part...
May I interject for a moment?
In a second. There's one part that really worries me in this entire thing, and that is number 14, where it says, we can expect here where it says the Hindu and the fundamentalist Christian religions and will have the most difficult time, possibly even the elimination of said religions. We can expect mass suicides, social unrest, and upheaval.
Yes.
That
it should worry you, and that's what worries them. And there is a precedent for this, because if you just recall, about 11 years ago, there was a mass suicide in San Diego where these people were following this fellow Applewhite who misguided them. And
Heaven's Gate, yeah.
Okay, so this is a real concern. Let me take you back to 1938 and the war, 1939, War of the Worlds. Right? This is the paradigm by which the government has been going, that the fear of the human being, of the strange, of the foreign, of the unknown, is an atavistic psychological element of the psyche. And so this is where what I'm involved in, is this psychological aspect of diffusing the fear and creating a space in people's minds to be able to be open to it and understand it in a non-threatening way.
And how are you going to do that?
Oh, by speaking on the Rob McConnell show, and writing articles on UFO Digest, and appearing on other radio shows, and showing that I'm not afraid of this paradigm shift.
But with it's nice to say you have this information.
Okay, you asked me why.
Where's the beef?
For this, let me interject.
Where's the beef?
I am a member of the U.S. Naval Institute. And I am a member of the Federation of American Scientists, which is a think tank that is associated with the United States Navy.
All right.
This is you asked me if people in government know about this. Yes.
Right.
This is a U.S. Navy initiative. The United States Navy has had the lead in this field of UFOs for over 100 years. I can tell you that the first encounter of the U.S. military with a UFO occurred at the Portsmouth Naval Yard, Portsmouth, New Hampshire, in 1896. That's how far back the United States Navy goes with this.
Mm-hmm.
And the other associated phenomena that is called USO, Unidentified Submarine Object. So this is not a new thing, Rob. And I think you're putting blinders on yourself, along with other people who have been constrained by a mind control program that was based on a report in 1952 called the Robertson Commission Report. At that time, they were worried that the reports which were coming in from all over the country and all over the world were locking up the communication system of the Pentagon. And it was feared that if these reports continued to come in, the United States might be caught in a bind were we to have occasion to defend ourselves against the Russians. We didn't know what this thing was in the 1950s. We didn't know how long it's been around.
Do we know now?
Yes. You read your Bible? That's how long it's been around. That's how long it's been around. Are you a Christian? You believe in God?
I believe that we're all connected.
You believe in God?
A single deity? No.
A multiple deity then?
No.
Then you don't believe in God, right?
I don't believe that. I believe that God is in each and every one of us. Plus, we're talking about UFOs, not God. So, Robert, get back to the subject.
No, don't really get real. I'm telling you that these are the
Batman,
major
now.
concerns of intelligent people.
You don't want to listen to me? You don't want to answer my questions? You're not on my show. It's that simple. Why is it when you get these people who have their own little way of thinking, they don't want to give you a direct answer? For the last 45 minutes, I've been trying to get this guy to give me a direct answer, and all I've gotten is the runaround. I'm not like other talk show hosts who are going to just sit there and believe everything you shove under my nose. I want proof. I want answers. And if you can't give me answers, and if you want to start talking, goodbye. I don't need this. My listeners don't need this. And it's with this kind of mentality that rational people do not buy the UFO crap that these people are trying to force feed us. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. You know, it's God. There's a lot of crap out there. You all talk this line. You all talk secrecy. You all talk about the ability to use your credentials in order to get this information. But you can never come out and say who the source is. Never. What are you hiding? Why don't you tell the people the truth? Why do you have to hide behind the source is confidential? You saw his credentials. They look good to you. You're a member of the scientific community. We're not sheep. You know what? We're not going to buy everything that you tell us. We're not going to buy everything that other people tell us. We want answers. And if you can't give me simple answers to straight questions, go to other radio shows. You don't want to give answers. You can't answer the questions. You don't want to tell us what the truth is behind these allegations. There's a little group out there who's really interested, and man, they'll cling on every word. Klingon. Maybe that's where the Star Trek thing came from. You know, they like to cling on to every word. We don't. Michael Salla was on the show Monday. Ask him a question, you get an answer. We had a great time. When you go through the correspondences that these two people, Clay and Sean Pickering, sent Michael Salla, which Michael Salla was kind enough to forward to me, it brings up a lot of questions. There's a lot of holes in here. There's more holes in this entire UN UFO crock of crap than there is in Billy Meyer's cheese in his refrigerator in Switzerland. If you want people to really believe what you're trying to say, show the proof. I would believe and have more faith in something that comes from CNN, CBC, CTV, CanWest Global, Reuters, Associated Press, than the backstreet publications of these little cults called ufologists. Grow up, people. Look in the sky, see UFOs. And then, of course, if you get kind of put into a corner, you bring God into the picture. This is scary. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X-Zone continues on the Talkstar Radio Network, X-Zone TV, and on shortwave from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. There's a lot of credible UFO people out there who really believe, and their one thing is to get to the truth, not to suppress it, not to keep people behind doors. This sounds like another chapter out of the X-Files. And isn't it funny that Don Ledger, as he said, put one and one together and got that the UFO was very close to George Bush's ranch? Well, wasn't one of the people who saw this UFO an expert pilot? And if it was that close, wouldn't this expert pilot who saw the UFO come up with this conclusion? I'll be back after this break as the X-Zone continues live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada.
If you've ever wondered about past lives or even life between lives, and you think the whole idea is
This is a historic night here on the X-Zone. We've never had two bite the dust before. Welcome back, everyone. I don't know what to say. You know, you ask a question, you should get an answer. Is that so hard to do? Question, answer, not question, run around, question, answer. That's the name of the game. Once again, Dr. Michael Salla was on the show Monday. We had a great interview. It was very informative, information exchanged. Number of people buy into the idea that this is a real event that happened at the United Nations. However, the majority of our listeners and the majority of people who have heard about this information on the internet don't take it seriously. Mainstream media doesn't take it seriously. You know, the part where the UFO was seen over George Bush's ranch. Like I said before we went into the commercial break, one of the eyewitnesses of the UFO in Stephenville was a pilot. Now, don't you think that a pilot who is used to flying the airspace around Stephenville would have known that this so-called UFO that some say was 600 feet, others say the size of a Walmart, others say a mile and a half in diameter, would have caused heavy havoc and chaos, that you just wouldn't have 10 F-16s flying all over the place. It would have caused such an action that the mainstream media, and I look at CNN because these guys are the best when it comes to instantaneous tabloid journalism and reporting the news. They would have been all over it like a large kid with a bag of Smarties. But no, it's always the independents who come up with this idea that there has to be more to it than meets the eye. There are UFOs, unidentified flying objects. Not everything is a spaceship. When it comes to the Phoenix Lights, again, another conspiracy theory. Even though you had the captain of the squadron that was flying the mission from the Maryland National Guard say that we dropped those flares. There was no UFO. That was our mission. Of course, the government is lying. The government always lies. Right, guys? Wrong. I just get a little tired of everybody always coming up with a conspiracy theory and never any proof. No proof. And isn't it funny that this meeting at the United Nations happened in the wake of the Stephenville UFO sighting? Coincidence? I don't think so. A well-thought-of marketing plan for people who have other reasons why this story should be circulated. If this is a real event, where's the proof? How come it hasn't been reported in any credible news media? How come other countries aren't talking about it? My book, this event never happened. It was concocted for other purposes than to let mankind know that this is coming. I'll be back on the other side of the news as the X Zone continues. We're right here on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone TV.